The fight is going to happen May 2nd, Mayweather versus Pacquiao. Between now and then, everybody's going to be talking about who's going to win and why, debate after debate. So, thought I'd put my 2 cents in. Now, right off the bat, I'm a huge Floyd Mayweather fan. But first, I'm an objective sports fan. Okay, so I'm not going to just be on here hating on Pacquiao, talking my boy up. I'm going to talk about this objectively. Now, before we get into who's going to win and why, let me get a couple of things off my chest, okay? First off, as to why this fight hasn't happened till now. A lot of haters out there want to say Floyd was scared, Floyd was ducking. People, let that go. Both of these men are professional champions, okay? They're not afraid of anybody out there. They're not afraid of another man in boxing, okay? Floyd is not 47-0 by being afraid. He's never ducked. This fight has not happened due to a multitude of reasons. First and foremost, at the top, you have the relationship between Floyd Mayweather and Bob Arum. Floyd hates Bob Arum. He didn't want to be responsible, have anything to do with putting any money in Bob Arum's pocket. Okay, so that was the biggest obstacle from day one, was Floyd did not want to work with anybody that fights for Bob Arum. Okay, then you had Showtime HBO. That people just ignored it. Like, for those fights to happen, it's got nothing to do with the two fighters. You got different factions that have to come together and agree. Top Rank, Mayweather, Golden Boy Promotions, they have to come together and agree. So it was a lot more obstacles. Then it's been faults on both sides, people. The very first fight, first negotiation, Pacquiao screwed that up because he didn't want to acquiesce to the Floyd's request for stringent PED testing. Okay? And then everybody wants to hate on Floyd for that. Look, I'm not going to say that Manny used at all. I don't know that for a fact. But I will say that I understand Floyd's concerns. I understand his father's concerns. Okay? Because if you look at the history of this sport, when guys move up in weight, punching power does not move up with them. Look at Evander Holyfield, destroying dudes at cruiserweight. Not so much at heavyweight. Roy Jones Jr. destroying people at middleweight. He moves up to light heavyweight. The knockouts aren't coming. He's winning by decision. Shane Mosley was killing people at junior welterweight. He moves up to, it's not, punching power does not usually move up. And we're talking about a guy that has moved up through 8 different weight divisions. So this guy was a very small dude, okay? He's coming up now and knocking out 150 pounders. No, that doesn't happen. Your punches don't carry that. So I understand the concern, because that was alarming. Like, how's this dude, where's this puncher? Because even when he was fighting the small guys, everybody, if you ever watch the smaller guys fight, it's high energy fight, a lot of punches, exciting to watch. But so many punches are landing because they don't have much power behind their punches, so they're not able to knock each other out. It's like an accumulation of punches that ends up getting the knockout. And that's what Pacquiao was getting. Pacquiao wasn't cleaning people out. But then he comes and he's knocking out bigger dudes, Cotto, Margarito. Come on, man. I mean, so I understand the concern. Plus, the dude's head grown, okay? I'm just saying, Barry Bonds' head grew, PEDs. So, I understand the concerns. So, anyway, my point is, Floyd not scared. Manny's not scared. It was just a whole bunch of egos, different companies, so many things that went into this fight not happening. But let that all go, people, because the fight's finally here. Now, another recent thing, Manny Pacquiao's camp, after negotiations are done, come up with this idea, let's sign a contract that if one of us tests for PEDs before the fight, there's a $5 million penalty. Floyd said no. Floyd's like, y'all should have brought that up during negotiations. Negotiations are done. I'm training for the fight. I'm not signing nothing else. And then here come the haters. What Floyd got to hide? He must be using. People, Floyd stands to make upwards of $180 million for this fight. If he tests positive, forget $5 million, he's going to lose $180 million. So if you want your proof that he's not using it, he has nothing to hide, there's 180 million reasons, okay? That's a lot greater than 5 million. So that little, all that was is what Pacquiao's camp has been doing from day one, is trying to get publicity, media controversy and things, just trying to make noise and make people look at Floyd at more and more of a negative light. Freddie Roach, that's all he's doing right now, just talking about domestic violence and all this, and he's not a role model. Please, man, look, all you people, y'all gets the hand. Sandlot, you're killing me, Smalls. Stop hating. Alright, now let's get to the fight. I personally think, not because I'm a fan, just based on boxing and what I've seen, that Floyd is going to give Manny Pacquiao a boxing lesson. I also feel that Floyd may knock Pacquiao out, okay? That may sound crazy to people. So let's address the first thing. A lot of people say Floyd doesn't have knockout power. Skip Bayless on First Take, one of the main ones, always talking about him having soft hands and can't. Floyd and Roy Jones Jr. had to educate Skip. I'm glad he came on the show the other day. Floyd's not that type of fighter. Floyd is a boxing genius. He is the greatest, right next to Pernell Whitaker, one of the greatest defensive boxers in the history of the sport. So his MO in the ring is to hit and not get hit. So a lot of times he's not going in for the knockout. He's not sitting down on his punches to get that knockout power, because when you sit down on your punches, you leave yourself open to get hit, which is what Manny Pacquiao learned against Marquez. You can get put to sleep. Floyd is hit and not get hit. Now, does that make a lot of people don't like Floyd? Because, it doesn't make for exciting knockouts or whatever, but you have to be a true fan of the sport to appreciate the skill and the art that goes into being 47-0 and dominating fights with boxing skill, okay? But when Floyd is forced to sit down on his punches, like Ricky Hatton made him do, Floyd can knock you out, okay? So Floyd does have that power. Don't get it twisted. You do not fight guys like De La Hoya, Alvarez, Maidana, and be able to weather the storm and keep him off you enough that you're not getting hit. You have to have some sting on those punches to keep these guys off you. All right, so they can all say what they want to. Floyd has power, just doesn't use it all the time. Pacquiao, we know Pacquiao has some knockout power, but what's gonna hurt Pacquiao is if he comes in and tries to go for that knockout. So it's gonna be about how I think the biggest factor of how this fight is gonna go is how Pacquiao approaches it. Pacquiao may come in and try to box. That's a mistake. If you try to outbox the best boxer, that's what Canelo did. Canelo came in like, hey, I'm going to prove to you guys I can outbox this man, even though he was the bigger fighter. He should have came in. If Canelo would have put in the type of pressure that Maidana did, Canelo possibly could have got a knockout, okay? But he could have made things a lot more uncomfortable for Floyd if he put that body on him, because if that big body of Canelo would have been on him like Maidana's was for those first 6 rounds, that would have been a tough fight. Could have gone the wrong way for Floyd. But he chose to try and outbox him. Manny's a decent boxer, but Manny, where Floyd is a boxer, counterpuncher, defender, Manny is a puncher, brawler, then boxer. He has some boxing skill, okay? And that really didn't come until he came to welterweight, where he had to develop it. When he was with the fighting at the lower weights, he was just a brawler. He was just a whirlwind of punches. And he still is that at times. If you watch the fights, he has trouble against boxer counterpunchers. Marquez, Bradley, going to be Mayweather. He gets frustrated when he can't go in there, because Manny Pacquiao's style is built for guys with similar styles or slower guys that are easy to hit. That makes for an exciting fight. Manny Pacquiao is comfortable in those moments because there's a guy that Manny doesn't like to counterpunch. Manny likes to lead. He likes to stir it up and go in there and brawl. So when you got a guy who's in a defensive posture, Clotty, what Floyd will be, what Marquez was, who was looking for the counterpunch, he gets frustrated. He did that both Bradley fights. Not so much the second one, but in the first one. That was not a controversial decision. Pacquiao won that fight by 1 round, so it wasn't as controversial as everybody made it out to be. Go back and watch the tape. For the most of the fight, Pacquiao would get frustrated, and then for the last 30, 40 seconds of the round, come and throw a whirlwind of punches, most of them not even landing, but he's winning rounds just based on activity, okay? But if you go back and watch the tape, he's getting frustrated with the lack of action as Bradley hurt his ankle and goes into maybe the defensive counter-punching posture, and he wants it to come to him. Shane Mosley did the same thing to him. So fighters with speed, boxing skills, and want to sit back and play defensive and counterpunch Manny's not good with that, because he gets a little frustrated and then he goes in and he makes mistakes like he did against Marquez and can be put to sleep. So Manny has to make a choice. Am I going to jump on him like Maidana? Which I think he would be more successful, because Maidana doesn't have the boxing or the speed. He's got hand speed, but Manny Pacquiao is better with his punches. Maidana was throwing overhand chops. It was like a street brawl, okay? It was horrible. So it wasn't even boxing at all that he was doing. So Manny's pressure is going to be with a lot more skill behind it and a lot more dangerous to Floyd. I think that really is his best chance. Because like I said, if he tries to just box, he's not going to win that, okay? So really his best chance, he has to mix it up. He has to have great pressure mixed in with some boxing, but he can't do one all the way or the other. It's going to go bad for him. So his best bet is to mix up that pressure with some boxing skill, but you're fighting a guy who is going to be defensive and is going to be looking to counterpunch you. So when he gets bored, he can walk into a punch like he did with Marquez. When Floyd fought Hatton forced to sit on his punches, put so much pressure. That's really how I kind of see this fight maybe going. Manny Pacquiao, great pressure. Floyd forced to sit on a punch, and he gets dropped like he did against Marquez. Okay, now let's talk about what Floyd is going to present to Pacquiao. Floyd is the best fighter in the world at mixing things up. Boxers, you always hear about they're feeling each other out in the first couple of rounds, trying to get a bead on the other guy's rhythm. That's huge for boxers. For you to get your game going, you got to get the other fighter's rhythm, figure out what they're doing, and then you counter that. You can't do that with Floyd. Floyd mixes things up throughout the whole fight. That you get used to one thing, now he's doing something else to you. And I'm talking about simple things, okay? Not drastic things. Not going like I'm saying what Manny Pacquiao needs to do with pressure mixed with boxing or whatever. No, I'm talking about Floyd can win an entire fight against anybody in the world with nothing but his jab. He could do that. It would be boring for fans. Everybody might boo him, but he could do that. Okay? And that's what he'll give you. Floyd will come out, first couple rounds, he's kind of feeling you out. He's fighting defensively, seeing what you're going to bring to him. Then he starts sticking you with that jab. Okay? Then, as soon as you feel like, okay, now I got the jab, I got his rhythm on the jab, now he adds the right behind it. So now he's sticking you with that 1-2. And it's fast. So now you think you're timing the jab, but you're getting stuck with the right. Then he comes out after a couple rounds of that, and he starts dominating with that jab to the body. There's nobody in boxing that throws a better jab to the body. Go back and watch the tape. Maidana, Alvarez stop dead in their tracks every time they're trying to set their attack by jab to the body. So now you got to start timing this. What am I going to see? The jab to the body, the 1-2? I don't know. Then he starts mixing in. Now he's throwing the lead right. So you're looking for the jab to the head of the body. Now he's leading with the right, and you're getting stuck with that. He mixes it up all the time. And then he hasn't been forced lately. But if you go back and look at tapes of him in his early years, he was a brilliant combination puncher. But he's just been able to win so many fights later in his career just with 1-2s. Not having to throw so many combinations. If you force him, though, to add those combinations, there's nobody better at it. So there's things we haven't seen in the last 5-6 fights from Floyd. If you force him, you're going to see greatness. Okay, the complete package. And I really think that's what's going to happen in this fight. And I think Manny will lose because of it. Now, people keep talking about Manny being a southpaw. That's going to pose problems for Floyd. Let's go back. Let's look at Floyd has faced southpaws before. And, of course, he's 47-0, so we know he was successful. The best example or comparison we can have to Manny would be Zab Judah. Zab Judah was every bit as fast, if not faster, than Pacquiao in his heyday. And he was a better boxer, much better boxer than Pacquiao. And he gave Floyd everything he could handle for those first 4 rounds of their fight. I actually thought he was almost close to dominating the fight through the first 4 rounds over Floyd. But see, what Zab Judah has had the tendency to do his whole career is when that knockout don't come, he disengages. He gets bored. It's like he's just, oh well, and then now he's not even engaged in the fight. And then Floyd turned it around like he always does and went on to dominate the rest of the fight. Now, I don't think Pacquiao is going to disengage. Like, his heart always stays in the fight. But like I said previously, Pacquiao gets bored. He gets frustrated when the other guy is not coming to him so he can mix it up. If he's holding, if he's fighting defensively, Pacquiao gets frustrated, and when he does that, he opens himself up. So when you're in there against a Margarito, Cotto's great, don't get me wrong, but Cotto, Algieri, Brandon Rios. I mean, people say that Floyd don't fight people. Floyd has just fought Maidana twice, Canelo before that, while he was fighting Rios, Bradley, and Algieri. Please, man, come on. He wasn't fighting anybody, okay? But when he's in there with those type of guys, man, he gets frustrated because they're boxers and he can't get to them. They're not mixing it up and he's not able to take them out. And that frustrates him. So he can leave himself open, and I think he will. I think that's what's going to happen. But there's also a chance. You know, Freddie Roach is a great trainer. I know they're developing the game plan. They're watching film, everything. They're putting something together. So if Manny can stick to it. But that's the thing. Until you get in the ring, you don't know. Reality sets in. Okay, this guy is faster than I planned for. This guy is better defensively than I planned for. He has more power than I thought he had. So it's going to be all, like I said, it's all about the southpaw is not going to pose a problem to Floyd. Okay, now give credit to Manny. Manny throws punches from crazy angles and successfully. So I really think that when they mix it up, you know, Floyd's really going to be on his game because there's a chance he can get caught. So that's Manny can't win by knockout. There is always a puncher's chance for a puncher to get that punch and knock him out. So Floyd is going to have to be careful. He cannot, and I know you know he's not. He's not taking this fight lightly at all. But he can't get caught slipping because of those crazy angles that Pacquiao throws from, and with his hand speed, he gets caught slipping, he can get put to sleep. All right, but I don't see that happen, man. He's going to be on point. He's going to be on his game. He's going to be using that shoulder roll to the best of his ability. Pacquiao, I think, is going to try and put pressure on, and he's going to get frustrated, and he's going to realize, he's going to see that jab to the body. He's not going to be able to get the rhythm that he wants to get into Floyd, and then it's going to come down. Does Manny want to lose by decision, or does he want to go for broke and just go in like that whirlwind? And then he takes that chance of getting knocked out like Marquez put him to sleep. Okay? So that's how I see the fight going. There is a chance, of course, it always depends on the judges. If Manny puts enough pressure throughout the entire fight, you might have judges, you know, unlike the judges in the Maidana fight, gave more credit to Floyd's ring generalship in boxing than Maidana's pressure. So it just depends on the three judges to be there. How are they going to look at the fight? Pressure over generalship in boxing or vice versa? So there's always that slight chance Manny gets a decision, but that's a small one. I just think there's absolutely no way Manny Pacquiao is going to win a decision against Floyd Mayweather. I think his only chance is a knockout. But he's going to have to be smart about how he goes for that knockout. You cannot come in against Floyd Mayweather and just be that whirlwind brawler and just throw a bunch of punches. It's going to have to come in a controlled manner. Now, I just think Floyd's too good of a boxer. He's going to give him a boxing lesson. The same way, if you look at Manny Pacquiao, he's had trouble, like I said, boxer counterpunchers. Tim Bradley, Marquez. He has fought Marquez 4 times. Manny Pacquiao won that first fight, barely. The other 3 that Marquez and Pacquiao fought, Marquez won all 3 of those fights. The last one, we know there's no doubt. But he was robbed, especially in the third one. He was completely robbed. People talk about Pacquiao was robbed in the Bradley fight. No, Marquez was robbed in the Pacquiao-Marquez fight the 3rd time. And that's why I was so glad he put him to sleep in the 4th fight, because it leaves no doubt Marquez gives that man's trouble. Now let's go back and look. Marquez fought Floyd, and Floyd shut him out. Complete boxing lesson. 12 rounds, because a boxer counterpuncher doesn't do nothing to Floyd. Floyd can crack that code because that's what he does, and he does it better than anybody. So Manny Pacquiao's history, he has trouble with the type of fighters that fight like Floyd. So that's how I see it going. Floyd, he's never really had trouble with anybody. Okay, he's always been able to adapt and win the fight. So Floyd, by decision, maybe a knockout. Pacquiao, great fighter, no disrespect, has a puncher's chance. Just don't see it happening. Now, one thing, this morning I'm watching First Take, and you got freaking Freddie Roach now, just keeps running his mouth. I have nothing but respect for Freddie Roach as a trainer, but he just keeps running his mouth as if he's the one fighting. I know he's trying to hype his boy up because, yeah, everybody talk about Pacquiao ain't had a knockout in a long time, okay? And they talk about his spiritual conversion. He doesn't have that killer instinct no more, so he's just letting people off the hook. At least that's what Freddie Roach is saying. And now he's out here talking about Floyd's character. He's not a role model. I wouldn't want my kid to be like him. He's domestic abuse and all these things or whatever. This is boxing. Let's stick to the boxing game and what's going to happen in the ring. You're just out here now trying to bring up all the stuff about this man's past to get, stir up more negativity towards Floyd, talking about this is a battle of good and evil and, Pacquiao's got God on his side. People forget. You're killing me, Smalls. People forget Pacquiao's spiritual conversion came for a reason. His wife was going to leave him because he was gambling, drinking, womanized, and cheating. So he's no saint. So it's a matter of, your sins are greater than mine, or I've stopped sinning now because I found God. Don't get on your high horse and start dogging Floyd like you got no sins in your past. So and you look at people want to talk about Floyd's character. Floyd's not doing that. Floyd's not resulting to character assassination. He has in the past. I'm not going to defend Floyd. He's made some pretty derogatory videos in the past towards Pacquiao. But right now, as this fight is coming up, Floyd is training. His eyes on the prize. He's not bringing it up because, like he told Stephen A., he said, I can't do that. I'm afraid the dude to sue me. So, let that go. Floyd by decision. I'm done. God bless. Peace.